stage 2, the jetpacks. We're going to go game object, create empty. It'll be here. And we're going to call it jet, one individual jet. Enter. And there it is in the middle. With W you can see where it is. You can move it back and forth. Right now it's just empty, an empty game object. We're going to use a particle system to make an individual jet and then copy it over to have two jets and to go below the jetpack here. So we're going to need to add a bunch of particle systems. So we're going to go particle, and we're going to basically take almost everything that's got particle in it. So start with particle animator, and again particle renderer, and again not particle system, ellipsoid particle emitter. And there, that's the main one. You can see the particles being emitted now. They don't have any material yet, but there's one more. World Particle Collider. So those four. And let's start with the render. That's the main one, because right now, again, there's no texture to be seen here. That's what purple means. And we have an array of one size with one material, and there it is. Element 0 has none, so we've got to go pick one that's already made, and the one that works best is fire add. So there we go. Good. The next thing that we're going to want to do is work with the ellipsoid particle emitter, and I'm just going to collapse everything else for now, just so I can focus in on the ellipsoid particle emitter. You can play around with the values, and the best values are in the tutorial, but here's basically what you've got to do. First of all, you want to make the size of the particles a bit better. They're a bit small right now, so we're going to change the min-max size and min-max energy to be, or I'm going to anyway, you can do whatever you think is best, 0.3 and 0.45, and the energy 0.2 and 0.2. See, they're a little bit bigger now, but less of them. Now we're going to go to the velocity. We want the velocity to be downward, so it's the y that's going to need to change. Remembering that y is up and down, they need to move down. So we're going to try 0.25. And again, this won't all come together until we've got all the values in. So 0.25. And then down here at the bottom, this ellipsoid, the x, y, and z values need to be really small. 0.02, 0.02, 0.02. Okay, it's coming together. And we do not want to simulate in world space. So we'll try that. We better zoom in on it and see something doesn't look quite right. Let's try to increase the velocity. Or decrease the velocity. It's actually looking alright, so I'm going to change my mind. Mine is 1.6 or so. So something like that. And again, you get, oh, this is the other thing you probably know. You can change the numbers simply by sliding over them until things look good. So what's this? Min size. I want them fairly... I'm going to stop there. So not to have this carry on too long, you play around with the numbers until it looks just right. And then let's go into the particle animator. And this is going to give colors through the lifetime of each particle. And the first thing that you probably want to do is change the alpha. The alpha is represented by this line right here. And you want, an alpha is how see-through it is. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to make the alpha, to begin with, I want to be able to, if I can slide it here, I want to see it all at the beginning. And as I go down through, I'm going to make the alpha less. And less. And less. See, it's kind of fading away now, and that one's just barely there. And then in terms of colors, you may want it to start off hot red or something like that. And I don't know what colors work best, but just to show you how it works, let's go to the first color and make it kind of a red. You can see how it's reddish tinged there. And you know, if I take that off, you can see I think you can see how when I take the particle animator off, it's all basically the same intensity. And when I turn it on, now they start in red. They start fully opaque and it fades away. So that's probably good. And I don't know, maybe black in the middle or black at the end. I'm just going to do one more for argument's sake. Doesn't really change much there. So that's good for now. And up to you, the colors you want to choose, oranges and so on. So that's the particle animator. And now we're going to make this into a prefab. A prefab is like a template that you can use over and over and over again. We're only going to have 2 of these, one for each of the jetpacks, but still we might come in and at one point decide that we want to change both of them. Well, by having a template, by having a prefab, we only need to change the prefab and they both change exactly the same. So we're going to drag the jet down into the prefabs folder of the project. So delete my search, open up my platformer tutorial, and look for prefabs. And I don't see a prefabs folder here, so I guess we're going to have to make a prefabs folder exactly called prefabs. Prefabs. And that should be in the root folder. So there it is, it has nothing yet. When you drag something to the prefabs folder, it becomes a prefab. You don't have to do any other thing, just as long as that folder is named correctly. So there we go. We move the jet into the prefab. And then the most unintuitive thing that you'll do in Unity, you delete the original. Go up here and right click and delete. Because if we have a template, we don't want one other random one just sitting here. Like sometimes you'll make 100 copies of something, and one of those was the original one. So you change the template, and all 99 change, but not the original 100th one. So, right, you delete the jet, and now you're going to move the jet up twice. And I want to position it below here, so probably the top view, which is from a Y down, is the good place to start. So there's one jet, and another jet. And in fact, maybe a better thing to do now would be, well, that'll do, I guess. If I'm at the X view, no, I'm going to go to 4x4. 4 split. The only problem there is you got to zoom in on each one individually, which is a little bit of a pain, but I'll show you this once. And the other thing that's a pain is that they're all wireframe. So I'm going to go from wireframe view to textured, each one of them. This takes a little bit of time, but okay, so now if I look at one from the top, I'm constrained to moving in just 2 dimensions without bothering the third. So now I look from the side with the X, and that looks pretty good. And I look from the back with the Z. Oh, that's the front. I want to go from the back. And let's go to the other one. Oops, you see that's way too high. So that's good. That's good. Okay, they're all good. So now I'm going to go back to, oh, you probably didn't save your other layout. Should have got you to save your layout. But if you didn't, go to 2x3 like we did before. Sorry about that. And move that down like we did before. One column. And save this. You might as well do this now because it's good. And put your console up, down the bottom, dragging from the tab there. More practice with this, can't hurt. And save this layout. So next time you go to the 4 split, you'll be able to go right back to the layout. I'm going to save layout and call this my initials 2. I've done this a few times before. So now, if I want to go to the 4 split, I'm in the 4 split. If I want to go back to the way that it was, I go to my particular layout. So back on the jets. So these jets are not going to move with the player right now. If we play this and I move the player away, they're just going to stay there. And does he go back yet? Good. So I'm going to move the jets to be part of the player. I do that by dragging them onto the player. Jet and jet. Wouldn't be a bad idea at this point to name them left and right. So okay. So now they are part of the player, So now they will move with the player. And there's one other thing that they get you to add in the tutorial. It's not a bad idea, and that is a light. So we're going to go game object, light, directional light, point light. I think point light is probably the best. It's awfully bright, but I'm going to change the color, maybe an orange, something like that. And maybe change the intensity also to be not quite so intense. Or maybe. And then move it in between. Well, it's in a good place now, so in between the two, and make it part of the player. And it works best if it's actually on the torso. So where's the torso? There. Yeah. Yeah, so there it is. Our point light is part of the player. And so now you'll see that there's a little bit of light that's a result of the jetpacks. And finally, the jetpack is only supposed to work when you're jumping. So we need a script to control that. And the script, I'll just look it up here. Papers is Jetpack Particle Collider. So Jetpack Particle Collider is going to go on the player. And so now when you play it, you don't see any jets because he's walking. But if you jump with the space bar, you see the jets. But you don't hear anything. And do I have any sounds at all? No. So let's do that too. There's a thruster. So a thruster sound. Let's just see. Thruster sound. And the thruster sound, right. So it's this. That's the only sound, I think. So let's just try it. Thruster sound as an audio source. And we'll try it. See if this is the one. Yeah, that's it. That's it. When you press the space bar, you get the thruster sound. So that's it for the jetpack.